And straight away, let me get interactive. I already have Nana Agyemang in the on the stream. Good morning to you, Nana Agyemang. If I just read a couple of content from the speaker at the time that this bill was being passed, that's a speaker, Agyemang Bagben, says, I do not think it is proper for the judiciary to, without knowing how we conduct our business in Parliament, go into how we conduct our business and make such important decision. And he was talking about an earlier ruling as far as this is concerned. And then he also says that Ghana was losing out to a number of countries in relation to production industrially of cannabis, and then also the benefits along the value chain and its derivatives. Now, what have been the fears since the initial steps were taken, even before the Supreme Court's ruling, subsequently to get to know how Ghana thinks? But before we get there, we also will be opening the phone lines, and so we'll get the phone lines ready. But Nana Agyemang will be speaking to us. He's an advocate for Ghana to be part of those countries that are undertaking industrial production of cannabis, and he will give us a comprehensive discussion or understanding of when we're talking about industrial production of cannabis, what it means, because it's been misconstrued to mean that the industrial production will involve the production of what they call weed, and within the form in which currently it is in our various communities in Ghana. Now, on that day, the speaker did say at the end of it, when contrary views are expressed, he says that Ghana should not be left out of a decision that have been adopted by many countries that have actually benefited a number of them. And he names African countries including South Africa, Lesotho, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Gambia, Malawi, among others. And he added, and we're talking about the speaker, that the move gave economic benefits to countries to tap into $1 billion industry that other countries also are currently enjoying outside the continent. We're talking Canada, the United States, etc. So we're opening the phone lines, and then we also want to add you into the conversation as well, what you make of this, and then the steps that could be taken. Because I know that with the previous arrangement or within the current framework and structure, there would need to be a number of consultations with a number of industry players, as well as key stakeholders, in order to make this materialize. We know that the Narcotics Control Commission had been at the forefront of this, raising some concerns initially. I don't know how proponents could also consult them further on this subject. And we had been at the center of this. We had produced a documentary. We had promoted that documentary, I remember. We called it Ganja Gold, and we had raised a number of legal concerns about it in relation to the law as we have it. We have other countries that currently are involved. So apart from the Canada and the US, we have Costa Rica, we have Argentina and Peru. Nana Agyemang, what does this mean in its entirety, really?
Well, I think first of all, good morning to your viewers, and good morning to yourself, Roland. It's been a long time.
I'm well.
I think this is a very good victory for Ghanaians. First and foremost, it's not about being in the lead of the campaign or anything like that. It's not about us. It's about Ghana, and I think this is a very good decision for Ghana. And I think that what reinforced how good it is for Ghana was the fact that the Minister for the Interior and Honourable Agyemang Bagben made it clear that had we moved much more swiftly, that perhaps we would have been able to have generated $3 billion in taxes. And that would have meant we wouldn't have had to go to the IMF. I think the meaning of this is that we can now get together to establish a new industry, the industrial hemp industry, and therefore we can create tens of thousands of direct jobs and also tens of thousands of indirect jobs. And that's very important because of the high level of employment that we see at the moment mainly amongst our young people. So that is significant. I think it's also crucial because it doesn't seem as if government is generating any revenue internally at all, which is part of the reason why we are in this financial quagmire.
All right.
And so with the advent of industrial cannabis, this will mean that government will now once again be generating internal revenue.
All right.
And this will help with all kinds of different issues, the hospitals, the education, housing, etc. It will allow government to socially intervene where it is required. Environmentally, we have so many hectares of land that have been poisoned by galamsey and is still being poisoned by galamsey. And you have farmers sitting on the sideline looking at lands that they used to cultivate that they can't cultivate anymore. But now with the cultivation of hemp, industrial hemp on those lands, we can actually reclaim those lands over a period so the farmers can return to those lands and once again start cultivating high-value crops.
Okay.
The same is true of our water bodies. We can clean those up. Yes, sir.
Okay. So one key concern that has been raised by many people is about what the differences are. When we say cannabis production industrially and its outputs, and then what we know in our communities, what the differences are, because there's some level of concern among the mental health fraternity about it.
Yes, that's absolutely true, Roland. And perhaps, forgive me, perhaps I should have started with that. Your question led me another way. There is this fear that young people in particular, and I don't know why we're characterizing them in that way, because it's the older folk that are mainly consuming the cannabis, the recreational cannabis. There is a distinct difference between the two species or strains, if you like. And what has been approved is not what is popularly known as weed. The challenge is that the media, when you hear about these things, you put across images of people smoking, of rolled up joints. You show marijuana, in fact, when it's not that is being debated. It's industrial hemp. Now, industrial hemp grows to about 16 feet tall, significantly different to the recreational cannabis. It's 16 feet tall. It's a much slimmer plant. The use of that plant is concentrated by and large in the stalk and the buds of seeds that it produces. Now, the recreational cannabis grows to about 6 or 7 feet maximum and is very bushy. It's wide. It can go 2 or 3 feet
All right.
wide.
Okay. Point made there. Point made there.
Point made there. That are taken off and then dried and used for recreational use. And so there's a huge difference. The THC level in industrial hemp is 0.3%. It could even be 1%, but for this discussion, it's 0.3. But the THC in recreational cannabis goes up to about 25%. And the THC is the compound that everyone talks about that makes you high when you ingest it through smoke. There is no such thing in industrial cannabis. You will not sit there and smoke industrial cannabis, because if you're looking for that supposed high, you will never get it. If you smoke the studio of
Nana Agyemang, we have to leave you here. Thank you very much for the latest update on the subject. And this one coming from Mo Agyemang. Nyame says, good morning, Papa. I think there should be an extensive education on this legislation of cannabis for industrial and commercial purposes, because on the street, some people think weed smoking is now legal. And so that distinction needs to be made.